This is Noelia from Hexella. Join us at the Tampa Morgue.
What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to the Tampa Morgue Season 2, episode number 96. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host from his studio deep in Tampa Bay, Florida, Mr. Ed Webb. What's up, Webb?
Mr. Anderson, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man. How's everything over there in Tampa?
Raining lately, man. It's been kind of shitty. But we're in the summer, so that's how that works. It rains for an hour, fucks your day up, and then you get to go outside and finish your day. You know how it is.
We may not have to worry about that eventually, because eventually the whole world may be blown up. So
yeah, let's do it.
It's fucking
yeah. I saw a volcano was about to erupt somewhere. Fucking
planes are falling from skies left and right. I mean, Jesus Christ, man, what the fuck?
But, sorry, Bryce.
Yeah, sorry. So welcome to the Tampa Morgue. We opened up the show with Hexella with Blood, Ejaculate, Chaos from the demo titled Blood, Ejaculate, Chaos from 2021. About 20 minutes or so, maybe even less, we'll be joined by Noelia Garza, who's a guitar player, bass, vocals for the band. We'll talk to her. We'll find out all about the new record they have coming out June 27th on Hells Headbangers titled The Ancient Gaping Mouth. And Ed, another show, episode number 96.
96. We are getting so much closer, man. It's to that 100.
Yeah, and we're gonna try to get a couple episodes pre-recorded because I have some stuff going on next month in the early part of the month. You're doing a music video with Monstrosity, if I'm allowed to say that. I hope.
Yep. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can talk about that. That's fine.
Yeah, but you guys are. Can you say? I guess you can't say what song title it is, really.
No, I
can you?
cannot.
Yes.
No, I cannot.
But Ed will be
But
shooting.
I will say it's the opening track. I'll tell you that.
There you go.
And it's a fucking banger.
Well, you have to say that, right? No.
Yeah, I guess I would have to. But it actually is a banger.
Yeah, but no, Ed's will be doing a Monstrosity video, and I'll have some family in town. But hopefully, we'll have all. You guys won't miss an episode, so that's what we're working on now. We have Sabathan coming on next week from Heinous, Enthroned, Slaughter Messiah, Dawn of Crucifixion, Dying Corpse, Morbid Death. The list goes on. He was going to be on this week. So we had some stuff move around, so he'll be next week's episode. And like I said, we have Noelia Garza coming on from Hexella tonight. So we have that. And Ed, I don't have too much tonight, actually, for the intro of the show. Like I said, as usual, we'll come back at the end and talk to everybody. I do have some releases, not, a handful. And then I have really show-wise, which I only have one show on the list, and I'll mention it because you'll be at this show. Acid Bath, Saturday, June 28th at Janus Landing in St. Petersburg, or Janus Live, right? It's called now. In St. Petersburg, Florida. It's Acid Bath and Weed Eater, in which the show is actually sold out. But Ed will be out there. Ed, when is the last time you saw Acid Bath?
Wow. 90s. Sometime in the 90s. Probably one of the last shows they played here. God, it might have been... time flies. I want to say 93, 92. I don't know when they played their last show, but it was definitely... it's weird because I think of how packed these shows are getting for them now, and I don't even remember if it was that packed back then. You know what I mean? I mean, they would draw, but I don't know if they're getting...
now they have that cult status,
they just played Welcome to Rockville. I mean, dude, you know how many bands get passed up for that? But they get, coming back from a hiatus, get that show.
It's a reunion. I never thought, I have to be honest, like if you would have asked me bands that I didn't think would actually play again, Acid Bath was one of them. And Ed, I used to go out to New Orleans on Halloween a couple years actually, and go see Dax Riggs do acoustic sets over at One Eye Jacks and stuff like that over in Louisiana. That is a band I didn't think we would see again. So, I'm sure like you said, I saw the crowds that they're playing for, and it's pretty insane.
Yeah. And they sold out Janus. I can't even find a ticket for Bryce. So
I wonder if Ronnie Palmer, I know he did. Where did he do the drum setup for them?
Rockville
Drum Tech.
Yep.
We had Ronnie on from Malevolent Creation and Blood Messiah probably about 2 months ago, maybe now. He was drum teching for them at Rockville, and I wonder if he's going to do the Janus show also.
I don't know. I could text him, and ask. But I don't. He hasn't said anything online. He definitely mentioned that he was doing the Rockville gig. He might have done one other gig too. I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, shit, dude. I heard that fucking show was just off the charts. Like I saw some behind the scenes shit, and those are different. That's not like a festival in Europe. That's those big ones with the American bands are completely like off the chart difference. When you got Slayer and all those fucking bands playing, it's a different thing.
Yeah, I think it'll be a killer show. I also saw Death Angel was doing a 35th anniversary tour for Act 3, a North American tour. Nothing's coming to Florida, though. I saw like Colorado, New York, Pennsylvania, Texas, New Mexico, I want to say, Minnesota, California. But I did not see any Florida dates on that. But they're doing, I guess, the whole Act 3 record.
Yeah, which some people didn't like that record. I thought it was a great record, personally.
Like it too. Yeah.
But, there was I tried to think if there was a bad song on that record, and really, there weren't.
I wonder if that's a record. Like I like that record. I wonder if it grows on people eventually. Because I remember when it first came out, a lot of my friends too, they weren't into it. Because that was the first one. You started seeing Veil of Deception on there.
The Organization.
Yep. Songs like that, and I think it was a little bit different for Death Angel, but they're doing a 35th anniversary at Act 3. So I did see that. I don't know. I didn't see much else. I do have some releases, I guess. I mean, like I said, Ed, I don't really have much tonight to start out the show before
Yeah,
we
this
get
is one of
Noelia
those
on.
weird weeks that it's kind of slow. I didn't see no new releases available yet for the coming week. So, and last week there was nothing different, which is weird, right? Because usually there's something on the major scale. Because you're reading the underground stuff. I find the Spotify and whatever's being released normally, and I haven't seen anything. I looked and it's the same stuff that I mentioned the last time. So it's weird.
Yeah, and I have, we have probably like, I think there's 3 different people sending me releases that are coming up. So I always appreciate that. And I did actually, who I did see, Ed, this week? I saw Count Gore Duval. Had dinner with him and his wife, me and my wife, over in Vilnius, Lithuania. Anybody who, Count Gore Duval, one of the last living Creature Feature hosts, Hall of Fame host. Dick Dizell was his real name. He was also Bozo the Clown back in the day, Captain 20. I grew up watching him. He's been on our show several times. He'll actually be back on in October. We had dinner with him the other night. It was great seeing the Count. He was traveling for like 24 days through Europe, and he was telling me he's pretty much ready to go home now. Like him and his wife are, 24 days away from home. He's over in Florida now living. But I got to admit, like Ed, I talk to you off the show all the time, and it was definitely like, for me, my wife kind of understood too. I was like, you got to understand, like I used to watch this guy as a little kid, on the TV set, and now we have a friendship now. So it's been, I have to say, it was awesome seeing him. Anybody who doesn't know, he still has a web program. He was the first horror host to actually start a web program in the 90s when the internet was kicking at first. Count Gore Duval, The Dungeon is his page, but he still hosts the movies and stuff. But it was great seeing him, and he'll be back on the show in October. It'll be his 3rd appearance. But it was great to see him doing good too,
Yeah, I showed my wife the picture you posted, and she's like, "Is that like the Creature dude, the
Creature Feature Hall of Fame host."
she was talking about what's his name there, the other guy that used to do it all the time,
Paul Bearer or
Paul Bearer, yeah. And I'm like, no. I said I said, you don't understand. I mean, me and Tony growing up, this guy was, the real deal. And then when I said, well, okay, you'll know him as he was Bozo the Clown. She's like, oh my God. It's weird how you say one thing, they don't get it, but you say Bozo the Clown, and then everybody kind of picks that one up. So, yeah.
He's getting up there. We were talking about that. He's still doing it, man. And like I said, I first was actually introduced to him when my dad was working for the football team in Washington, and saw him on the TV. And then, he's still going. Like I said, it's impressive. But did that. Also, this week, I'm going to go see Anal Vomit from Peru. They were on the show. Yano was on the show probably 3 episodes ago. They're doing a 38-date European tour, so I'll be catching those guys over in Kaunas at the Lemmy's Club over here in Lithuania. And like I said, we have Sabathan coming on next week, so we have a lot of shit going on. And let me see. Ed, I think, do you want to do the releases now too?
Yeah, do them. You got them. I don't have shit, so you do it.
Anal Topsy from Indonesia, brutal death metal band. Intense Digestive Release is the name of the EP. Lethal Scissor Records out of Italy. Band's first release was in 2016, had 2 tracks on it. The latest EP has 5 tracks, is available on June 27th. Serpent Corpse out of Canada, death metal band. Retaliate is the name of the EP. Transcending Obscurity Records out of India. Serpent Corpse formed in 2020. Debut release was a demo in 2021. The band also put out their debut full-length titled Blood Sabbath out in 2023. The Retaliate EP has 4 tracks, 500 copies, and is out June 27th. Inhuman Condition out of Tampa, death thrash band. We all know Inhuman Condition in the local area too. Mind Trap is the name of this, on Listenable Insanity Records. Formed in 2020 by Jeremiah Kling and Taylor Nordberg and Terry Butler. Debut album was Rat God, which was released in 2021. Mind Trap will feature 9 tracks and will be the follow-up to the band's 2022 EP Panic Prayer, and that's going to be available June 27th. Lord Belial out of Sweden, black metal band. Unholy Trinity is the name of this release. Hammerheart Records is the label it's coming out on. Lord Belial formed in 1992. First release was a demo titled The Art of Dying in 93. This will be the band's 10th full length and a follow-up to the band's 2022 Rapture album. Lord Belial is made up of members past and present of Hell Goat, Gallows Pride, and Death Tyrant. Lord Belial, it's a new record. Unholy Trinity will be out on June 27th. King Witch, the name of the record is 3. Ed, can you guess what the previous record's name was?
I'm going to say 2.
No, it was a Body of Light. Came out in 2020. King Witch formed in 2015. First release was an EP in 2015 titled Shoulders of Giants. This will be the band's 3rd full length. It'll be out June 27th on Listenable Records. Creeping Fear out of France, a death metal band. Realm of the Impaled is the name of this one. Delorium Records out of France. Creeping Fear formed in 2010. First release was a demo in 2013 titled Unleashed. An EP titled World Execution in 2014 they put out. This will be the band's 3rd full length. Realm of the Impaled is out on June 27th, and I got 3 more for you. Sodom, album number 18, I believe this is. The Arsonist is the name of the record on Steamhammer Records. First, obviously, they formed in 82. The first demo was the Witching Metal demo in 83. The new album has 13 tracks. Saw Sodom probably 2 years ago over at the Kilcum Festival in Lithuania. They were awesome. And this one, the Arsonist, will be available on June 27th. Drawn and Quartered out of Seattle, Washington, death metal band. Lord of Two Horns. Nuclear Winter Records out of Greece. Drawn and Quartered formed in 1994. Self-titled demo came out in 1996. Drawn and Quartered has members past and present of Plague Bearer, Butchery, Expiration Date, Serpent Rider, and Grave Spirit. This will be the band's 9th full length. And Drawn and Quartered's Lord of Two Horns is out on June 27th. One more I have for you. Devil Priest out of Poland, death black metal band. Where I Am the Chalice, Be Thou Thy Blood is the name of this one. Nuclear Winter Records. Devil Priest formed in 2015. Released the debut full-length Devil-inspired Chants in 2017. This release will be the band's 3rd full-length. They also have a demo that we mentioned earlier, and a split in 2024 they put out with Hellborn, also from Poland. This will be out on June 27th on Nuclear Winter Records. And that's what I have for releases, Ed.
Huh. Wow. Look at you.
Look at that. I mean, let me see here.
I did see that Venom was putting out a
compilation, right?
Yeah, like a 3-record thing. Hold on, I can look at it here. I saw it just a minute ago. It's called Blackened Priests. Looks like it's a 37-song box set. Holy shit. So I'm assuming it's got probably all their shit. And it's weird that Venom's putting it out, right?
Oh, they're actually putting. I did see there was a compilation of Venom comp coming out. I didn't see who was putting it out.
Yeah, it looks like Dissonance is the record company. So I would assume that that they're not going to allow anybody to steal their thunder and make money off of something. Kind of like re-releasing the Diabolic record without my knowledge or anybody's knowledge. How that goes, or I see that Back from Beyond has been re-released by some company, and Matt bought a copy in Maryland from Hells Headbangers.
Oh, Matt Bishop?
Yeah, no, Matt Barnes from Monstrosity.
Okay.
And when we were there, he came out of the tent, he had it, and I'm like, dude, why would you buy that? I could have given you a copy. Like, I have a couple, on CD and shit, but he's like, well, I don't know. I didn't know, man. They had it. I was like, wait a minute. Who the fuck put that out? Because Century Media, as soon as the band broke up, they shut that record down. So,
it makes me think of the story you were telling me. Like when you guys, what is it? Mexico, when you guys go play there with the bootleggers that, you guys don't even bring your own merch.
Yeah. They were selling Monstrosity shirts out front. Yep. Unfortunately.
I mean, some of the bootlegs are better than some of the bands put out their own. I mean, the real deal. Some of the bootleggers do a great job.
They look like shit.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Lee was like, that's garbage.
Yeah. So like I said, I don't have too much tonight. We did get a couple, we always kind of mention some of the musicians who passed away during the week. We have them sent to us, and we do appreciate that. I have a couple. I have three, actually. So I have, again, if we have pronounced any of these names wrong, so we do apologize. This is Ranu Jalaco from, he's a French guitarist, vocalist, and bassist from the band Heimsgard, Kane, and let me see here, Faratarium. He passed away at 39. Adrian Schreiber, 51, from Switzerland, a bassist and vocalist. Let me see here, passed away at 51 from cancer. Played with a band called Disparaged. And Francisco Mercado from Peru was the drummer for a band called Infernal Noise. He passed away at the age of 45. So, those are the musicians that passed away this week. And Ed, I mean, unless you have, anything else, we can get Noelia on here, get her set up.
Yeah, man. I don't have anything else that I'm seeing that's noteworthy to talk to anybody about. So let's get her on.
Yeah. Ed, you played with them, actually, which we'll talk about during the show, which we were kind of figuring out before the episode tonight. You played with Hexella in Texas.
Yes, at the which is weird. They called it the New York Death Metal, I think.
International Fest.
Yeah, it was weird, but yeah, it was in San Antonio.
Fest.
And Dismember played. The night we played with Nasty Savage. It was cool. The gear sucked. I mean, because we were fighting to figure out amps, which I've never had to do at a festival before. But it was cool hanging out back with in the back room with Pete, Dave Orman, Pete Sykes,
Nasty Savage played,
Jim Coker. There's a picture that was floating around, and everybody got the idea that, oh shit, they were putting Contorted back together. But
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, not yet. Not yet.
With Hexella, I mean, I wasn't, they're kind of a newer band for me that, that I was actually not too familiar with. And I started hearing, they started sending out promo for Hells Headbangers. And Nathan had sent a few promo things over, and I checked it out, and I thought it was killer. So, we got a hold of the band, figured we'd bring them on here. I've actually heard Revik talking, Revik from More Than Red, who's been on our show, who has a YouTube channel, who was one of the shows I actually do try to catch whenever he puts a new video up and stuff. We're fans of Revik.
What do you mean, brother? Fuck that guy. That guy's crazy.
Yeah. So, I've heard of Hexella on his show and a couple other shows. So we figured we would get Noelia on here. And
it seems like we're starting to get, a bunch of Hell's Headbanger bands.
I mean, that's a great label.
Which is great. Which is great. I saw a video somebody put up. It was only like a minute and a half, but it was them walking through the Hell Headbangers
the warehouse, because they had this thing going on this weekend.
That was fucking, all the records and the shirts and the,
banners and shit looked awesome.
Yeah,
they had that because he had that Dead by Dog Fest this week. So that they did the open house. I think
a cool shirt too he made.
Yeah, Vincent Crowley was out there. King Fally was out actually there. I saw a video from the warehouse. King was hanging out. Vincent Crowley was hanging out.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, a bunch of the bands were hanging out, and they had a bunch of the fans come down. But yeah, I mean, and so they're on that label, and basically, I know it's next, and we're gonna learn a lot of stuff about the band tonight because we're kind of, it's like I said, it's a newer band for us. But with Noelia, she'll come on, and I know it's her, and she writes most of the stuff, so I believe that she writes pretty much everything. And then Joe Dan De La Rosa, who's also plays with Annihilator from Texas, Severance, Unholy Desecration, and Poser Hate, and a bunch of other bands. He handles the drums. Yeah, so we're going to play another band she's involved with, and also Joe is also involved with, Poser Hate. And we're going to play a song called No Answers Here. And then after we play that, we're going to get Noelia on here, and we're going to find out all about Hexella. So this is Poser Hate. We'll be back on the Tampa Morgue right after this track.
Somebody
And that was Poser Hate with No Answers Here. And we are joined by Noelia. How you doing? Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I mean, the last thing you did was a show, right, in San Antonio a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, we did. I won't be doing any more shows for the summer because I fucking hate performing during the summer. It's Texas. But yeah, we had a show with Pius Levis, the Cutthroats, which is a local punk band in San Antonio. Really great band. They've been around for a really long time. And Pius Levis, I love that band. Been a fan of theirs for a really long time. And we got to play with ETD. If you don't already know, Joe Dan, who writes a lot of the Hexella music with me, he drums in ETD as well. So he was doing two bands that night. So yeah, it's a really good show, really good turnout, and it's a good time. It was wild.
Nice. And actually, I was talking to you before we got signed on today, and you and Ed actually have done some shows together. You guys did a show. What was it? 2024 NYDM International Fest in Texas.
Yeah, that's correct. In fact, I think you guys played right before us, right, Ed?
No, we played right before Nasty Savage.
Ah, there we go.
I think you guys played Friday night.
No. We played
Saturday?
we ended the fest. We played Saturday at 12.
Okay.
Always play at 12.
Okay.
Yeah, so
it was a blur because we were there the night Dismember played, and that night was chaos.
Yeah.
And it was so hot. I couldn't even I couldn't take it. And
yeah,
I live in Florida, and it was hot.
Yeah. That's back to my previous comment about no shows in the summer. I like to write music in the summer, and that was another one-off show that I said, oh, okay, this one's going to be pretty killer. So just that one, and that's it. And it was hell on earth.
Yeah, what's your temperatures? So we're in June. Today is actually June 22nd. What is the temperatures over by you?
Shit, man, I I don't know right now. It's been decent because, man, I knew we were going to talk about the weather. It's been
We always do
decent.
here.
It's hot as fuck where we live. Um, it's been decent because it's been raining and overcast. But no, we've been getting into the triple digits already, like since late May. So it's been hot, but this weekend has been pretty pleasant.
Now, and are you born in Texas?
Yeah, yeah, born and raised.
Okay, so you're born in Texas, 83. And,
Hmm.
I wanted to, so basically, we always start our show, we go back to pre music before the bands and stuff like that. And I followed some of your press and, before you came on and a couple things I want to talk to you about early. So I know when you were growing up, not to bring up like a sore thing, obviously, but your dad passed away before you were even one. But he was a musician also, and which
Hmm.
also led to like instruments in your home and stuff being left around when you were growing up.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But there was always talk about my dad. Oh, your dad was a musician. He could anything he picked up, he could just start playing it, so or figure it out. He wasn't like trained or anything like that. Um, but yeah, there were instruments lying around, but I didn't know how to play them. I didn't actually learn to play until I left my home, uh, which was I started kind of fucking around with guitars when I was like 17, 18, 19, and then I just never put it down. And it was very like a very unfaithful kind of practice. Like I love music, so I would always try to pick it up every now and then I'd get distracted and leave it alone for a long time. But I would always find myself coming back, like to try to figure out songs or whatever. And then in college, uh, I actually studied music for 3 semesters, um, not with guitar or anything, just like
Classical
basic.
voice were you into?
Yeah, yeah, classical voice. So I was in the choir, was singing solos at what do you call it? Recitals, that kind of shit, real nerdy shit. But I learned a lot of stuff, and I can now speak that language to like other musicians, like a little theory here and there. But I'm I'm uh I'm not like I can't say like I'm classically trained. Um, it just kind of wanted to learn it. But yeah, yeah. Back to that. Um,
Was your
music
dad
was.
only guitar, or was he doing like was there other
Uh,
instruments also?
he played piano. There was a cornet, I think. Right? It kind of looks like a trumpet. Bass, banjo. I have the banjo still. I never learned to play it, but after you see like bluegrass players, you just like, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I can't. I don't think I can do that.
Yeah,
Bunch of
you're
shredders.
yeah. Well, you're pretty diverse musically too, right? And do you remember like obviously pre metal, pre Bathory, and all these things that we get into? Do you remember the first piece of music or band that like caught your attention as a little kid?
Yeah, that that would be Motley Crue. Um, I was
We all
watching.
started there, so hey,
Yeah. um, yeah, and I look back now and I'm like, I still like the early albums, but the later stuff is like whatever. But I was drawn to like the leathers and the hair and the guitars and the pentacles
well,
and
Too
all
Fast for
that
Love or
shit.
Shout at the Devil. When you're a kid, like
Yeah,
that's we're
yeah.
all
Oh,
me.
and I was there with the girls, girls, girls too. I was like motorcycles and like I was so fascinated by all of it. I was like, whoa, what's that? What's that life? Um,
Were you also into like like what you figure back then it was like what Guns N' Roses, Skid Row, and stuff like that? Were you into
yeah,
the '80s bands basically?
yeah, I was watching a lot of MTV,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, I had like Appetite for Destruction, and I think I had a Skid Row tape. I had uh, my brother. He had like a bunch of friends that would come around the house and stuff, and I don't know. I guess they would just leave that shit at the house, and I would get it. And so he was listening to like a lot of Iron Maiden and Metallica and stuff, and somehow I ended up with like some Metallica tapes, and yeah, like And Justice for All. And I ended up with some VHSs, like Two of One and the
Oh
Cliff 'em
yeah,
All
Cliff 'em All. I remember
VHS.
them. Yep.
I would watch those a lot.
The Cliff 'em All had the. I could see it now. It had the black cover with the pus head with all the heads, right? Head hanging on that.
I honestly I don't remember,
Yeah.
um, but I had them and I would watch them like all the time. But yeah, that's pretty much like how that started. And
You were also a Doors fan.
the first album, actually, um, that, and I also saw the movie. I think I probably was like 10 or 11 when it came out. Um, but yeah, the first album, which was the self-titled album,
Yep.
and then I had a waiting for they figured out, oh, she likes the Doors. So one of my mom's boyfriends, his was like, I got some Doors tapes. So he gave me these old little tapes, like I had Waiting for the Sun, and I would listen to
Morrison
those.
Hotel. Or...
Yeah, I bought Morrison Hotel as a teenager, and I had the Soft Parade on CD also.
I felt like
Uh,
that. I don't know what you thought about that record, but I thought the actual song itself, the Soft Parade, was I thought was
that
a killer
that song is
song.
good. That
The
song
rest
is
of it was
good.
kind of a little different, but of all the songs on that record, that was a good tune, I thought.
I didn't like that album, but I do like that song, and I do like Wild Child a lot,
Mhm.
on that album.
What was your favorite stuff from the Doors? Like, if you had to pick, like, because you're a lyric. Also, we'll talk about during the interview too. You're into lyrics and stuff, and obviously with Morrison, that was a big
Hmm.
deal.
Yeah, yeah. That's what also what I found really fascinating. In music, that there could be like these deeper meanings, and you could, you know, with yourself, you can. I guess it could be. It's some kind of a. I don't want to get all woo woo, but transcendent, if you will, um, when you're performing these things live. But yeah, so what really hooked me in was when I heard like Break On Through. As a little kid, I was like, what do you mean? Break on through. No, like the other side, like what is that? And that kind of fucked me up, because it led me down like occult paths and stuff. And I say it fucked me up, but it, like, not in a bad way, but it it made me wonder. It was thought provoking. Um, the other songs that I really love. I mean, I love all of them on that first album, but like songs like The End,
Yeah.
that as well. So, I also read a lot of books, so I was starting to understand like these concepts of like references to mythology, like the Oedipus
Shamanism and
complex
stuff.
and shamanism and things of that nature. Um, but yeah, lyrically, I thought that was really, I found it really intriguing and fascinating, and it put this wonder in me. Just the power that music has, and lyricism, and how you can use it. I found that really powerful. Um, Songs that I liked. Another song that I liked a lot was "End of the Night," and that was there were lyrics, or it was like excerpts of a William Blake song, I think it was. Realms of bliss, realms of light, some are born to sweet delight, some are born to the endless night. I believe that's who it was. It's been so long. But yeah, and so then I started drawing these parallels with, like, poetry and lyricism. So that was really meaningful to me, growing up, like finding this music so young, and you know realizing like, oh, this is like what it means to me, like, or how I would, I guess, eventually approach it. It's a
What was
long-winded answer. Sorry
No,
about
no,
that.
no, no. What are some of the other you into punk music back then when you're a teenager? Like, like I said before, we all start, we all, it's like a pattern, right? We start getting
Mhm.
into the heavier bands, but we all start out somewhere. What were some of the other bands you were listening to and styles of music?
Yeah, so punk music or hardcore music in my life, it started coming into my life more in like my early 20s. Um, yeah, like my early 20s. I did start listening to post punk music because I was going to like a lot of goth clubs and stuff because I like dancing. And well, I like music, and it was like the perfect little cross of like something kind of extreme, but also dark and moody, just like me. Like I'm just like this broody person, right? But I don't know. There's just a something about post punk music and death rock music that I really liked it, in the clubs, like finding that sweet spot where you can, I don't know. It was just something that I really got into, that whole like subgenre. But yeah, that started, I guess, me going to clubs and stuff like that. Like I was always going to clubs as a like in my late teens, and then I moved to San Antonio and I started finding these other clubs, and this is where I started finding like this other music. Um, and that was like in my 20s all the way through my 30s.
Do you remember the
Um,
first record you ever owned that you purchased yourself, I should say?
mm, like as a kid.
Yeah, like, the first record you actually went and bought with your own money or
Hmm.
allowance or whatever.
Yeah, I that must have either been, it had to have been either a Doors album or Jimi Hendrix live at Woodstock.
Okay. And how
Yeah,
was the record stores by you? Did you guys, like I said, I'm a couple years older than you. Dad's a couple more years older. But what were some of the record stores you were hitting in your teens in your local area that you remember?
yeah. So that we would go to the mall. I think there was a place called Musicland, um, and sometimes I would just hit up Target.
Yeah.
Target had a music section. Um, Another place, like when I was like little, I remember there was this little, it was like a little vintage coffee shop place, and they sold records, and I picked up Imagine from there. I was a teenager. I was listening to a lot of 60s music as a teenager, which was weird. Everybody was like listening to Green Day and Nirvana, and I was like listening to music from the 60s.
The 60s is great. Um, what was the first show you ever went to?
Local shows,
Yeah, you can go local and then national if you want to give one of each.
yeah, yeah, like a local show. I think the first one that I can remember where I was like, "Whoa, what's this?" I was at a like a goth night, and they had like a hardcore fastcore show going on. I didn't even know what that was. I just knew that what I was watching was really extreme, and they were these local bands called Apple Dick and another one called Nutscab, and they were just playing this shit that I had never heard in my life. Um, that like that like left a mark on me big time because it got me. It like something clicked when I found bands like DRI and Cryptic Slaughter. Um, yeah, so it that I guess that is like a core music memory for me. And then I discovered it again later. But yeah, that was like a little local show at a club. This club, it used to be called Club X. Um, as a teenager, I would go there for like the goth nights and stuff. And they would have these one off shows on like Fridays sometimes. So that was cool. And then the first big show that I can remember going, oh, you know what? I was in seventh grade. And everybody was into Pantera at the time. So I actually went to a Pantera concert. Yeah, I think I was in seventh or eighth grade. I can't remember, but I think that would, I guess you could say, that was like the first big show where there was like tons of people and, you're crowded and everybody's popping off. It's a big stage.
You mentioned seventh grade, so eighth grade is when you one of your friends gives you a CD from Severance, death metal band from Texas.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
what like
yeah.
kind of introduced you into that, kind of moved you along a little bit to the next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Um, my best friend at the time, her brother was a singer for Severance.
Was
His
that
name
Joe
was,
Vasquez?
yeah, Joe Vasquez. And she was like, look at the CD. You know, my my brother's on this, and I listened to it, and I was like, this is from here, like our little towns, you know. And she was like, yeah, my brother's in that band, so she let me borrow that CD for a while, and I got a copy of it. I had it, like I recorded it on tape, and
Was
yeah,
that
that was
Salvation Denied?
Salvation Denied. Yeah, yeah, that was a big like a open an eye opener for me. Like that, there were more extreme styles um, that could be explored. Um, and yeah, I think she let me borrow that because she found out that I liked brujeria. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I know about that band." And I was like, "Why haven't you shown it to me?" um, but she's like, and then she was like, "Look at this CD." And so yeah, that was like a, you know, something that was a bit of a gateway for me in eighth grade. Even junior high, like we were trading like lots of tapes, and we would get CDs and record them on tape for each other. And so I remember getting like copies of like I remember I got a copy of like L7's Hungry for Stink, and that was another album that like blew me away. I got that recording of that in seventh grade, and I came back to it way later in life to check to see if it was still, it was all right or disposable. No, it was still good, and later in life I realized like, man, I can hear like Motorhead in that, and I can hear Hellhammer in that. And I at that time when I came back to revisit it, I had already like, you know, gone through and like listened to this stuff, and and loved it. Like that's the shit that I like.
Yeah, you start getting into what that time period. You start getting into like the Dark Thrones, the Mayhems, Possessed, maybe and Slayers and stuff. Was that kind of like
Mm,
where you were going towards that?
yeah, well, if we're still talking about like seventh, eighth grade, it was more like a trickling in. But like, yeah, like Slayer. Slayer was one that I listened to. I remember it came across Divine Intervention, and I had a video. I think it was like Ozfest something, and that VHS got passed around the whole ninth grade center. There,
It's it's funny
uh,
you say that because I remember like being in school and we would, and Ed, you probably remember this too. When I remember, believe it or not, going back to Motley Crue, they did that Moscow Peace Festival, and I remember that VHS tape was like, there was like 10 of us who were sharing it, and like
mhm,
one weekend one guy would get to bring it home, and you would watch it because you didn't have, now you go on YouTube, you could see anything. Back
yeah,
then, you would just watch this because it was the only time you got to see these bands play. Back, this is a long time ago, but so
mhm.
I do recognize when you talk about this VHS, so like it totally hits home.
Yeah, yeah. Anything we had, we would share it with our friends. We'd be like, "Hey, check this out. You need to see this. Like, I think you might like this." I even had like teachers that would let me borrow their CDs because they figured out I was like a little music maniac. Like that was it. Like I guess everybody could see it, but they would let me like their Pink Floyd CDs. And one, or like I had this really cool teacher. He was like, "Oh, you can, you know, you can borrow my CDs," and he would let me play music in class. And he made me type out, which by the way is my favorite Pink Floyd album. It's the Animals album, like all the lyrics. He made me type them all out for him, like in class. Like, I don't know, yeah, as a project. um, yeah, it's kind of weird, but yeah. Yeah, going back to like where it was going, it was kind of like weaving in and out of like the extreme stuff, and then you got like your normal, like, you know, popular stuff that was like everybody was into at the time, like Tool and Nirvana and all that stuff. And I did listen to that stuff for a bit, but it didn't stick. Not the way that metal music did for me.
Were
Um,
you also into horror?
yeah, yeah. Well, as a little kid, I was um, more so, and then I wasn't so much into it as I was growing up as a teenager because all the movies were shit. It seemed like, and I didn't know where to like find the cool stuff yet. But you know, just like your classics, like all the Freddy Krueger movies, I was watching those as a little kid. The Friday the 13th movies, the Halloween movies, like I was watching that. Um, but now that I'm older, like maybe more like in my 30s, I started trying to find all of those like culty, campy, like 70s
Oh yeah,
vampire movies, like
the great ones, the Christopher
yeah,
Lees or the
or the Hammer or horror, like the well, I think that's what it's called, the
Hammer
Hammer.
horror, yep, Hammer
Yeah,
films.
those those are really good. I really liked those, and I'd like to see like the just the way like the girls looked, and like they were all babes, and it was a bunch of Satanism, and that was like fascinating to me that they were showing these kinds of things. Oh, like at that time, right? But what I was going to say, there was another show that I really liked, the Twilight Zone, but there was this other show called, I think it was called Dark Gallery. Yeah, it aired on like, back then, it aired on like NBC. And when I watch it, I'm like, oh shit, this is like super occulty. Like, is that, are they still like doing shit like that? Like now? I don't know. I don't watch TV, but I was watching this stuff and I was like, this is straight up satanic. Like, that fascinates me that they were airing this stuff like, oh, just, you know, this is another show. But I don't know, I guess that was feeding into like the panic that was about to happen in the 80s,
Yeah,
because I think those were airing in the late 70s. But yeah, I really like that show.
they had a
I,
lot of those great '70s, like you said, the occult movies and stuff. There was a lot of those back then.
yeah, like I really liked also like the Wicker Man, like that old Wicker Man movie. And also uh, like the, I think, I don't know if I'm going to say it right, but Alejandro Jodorowsky, I think, or Jodorowsky, like he did the Holy Mountain and Santa Sangre, just this really like obscure shit. Like I'd never seen anything like that, and it's not so much horror. That is more geared towards like New Age and occultism, um, but the cinema in those films are like just really artful and beautiful, um, really inspiring stuff. Uh, I got into those in my early 20s. I remember I was living in San Antonio and we got invited to an after party. And they were like, oh, let's watch this movie and let's smoke some hash. And I don't know, I don't think that was hash. That shit was weak. But I don't think I've ever smoked hash before. But I don't think, you know, I've smoked pot and I think that was weak pot anyway. So they had a Holy Mountain set up on one TV and they had Legends set up on the other TV and they were playing them at the same time. Uh, I don't know. It was fun. It was fun. They were good movies, but I was so fascinated by the Holy Mountain. Um, yeah.
Nice. Joe, your bandmate, and you're married, right? You're your husband
Yeah, yeah,
also.
that's my husband.
Did you guys meet in high school?
We did. We met in Spanish class, in ninth grade. We've been friends for a long time.
And he has I mean, a shitload of bands. I was looking at all the bands he played
Ooh.
with, so I won't even go through. We'll talk about some of them on the show. But we were speaking about Severance earlier. He actually spent time with Severance too.
Yeah, yeah, he did. Um, I think it was in the early 2000s. He got a call from the drummer and he got asked to join the band. And at the time, he was living in New Braunfels and he moved back down here to join that band because, like I said, we were growing up. Severance was like like a big deal to us, you know. So it was like, yeah, I'll join. Like, and he moved back down and joined, and he was in Severance for a really long time. I I want to say like 15, more than that, maybe, I don't know, 2004, maybe close to 20 years. I don't know. I don't do math.
And was he already jamming in bands when you met him?
Yeah, he was. He was in a band called Immortal Storm. I believe that was his first. I think that was his first band. He was in that band with Frank Sariana, who passed away. He was a tattoo artist in this area, and I believe he designed a Necrovore. Like, he did something for Necrovore, Frank Sariana. Um, and then he was also in that band with someone else who passed away.
Joe Garcia, right?
Yeah,
Total Human Genocide.
yeah, Total Human Genocide, and My Satanic Devotions, and Satanical Torment, and a lot of bands, but they were best friends. Like, it's funny because we all fought so much, all three of us. But in the end, we were like really good friends.
Yeah, they were
Uh,
recording at your house, right? Because we'll talk, like, you have a home studio, which we'll go through when we talk about your guys'
mhm,
recordings and stuff. But you were doing, didn't they do the last Total Human Genocide at your
mhm.
studio?
Yeah, yeah, just about everything that we've done has been recorded here. Because it's just this ongoing thing where we want to write music. And I'm always like in the other room, and it's like, hey, come put vocals on this. Do you have lyrics? Yeah.
Well, it's what, around 20 you said? So 20, Joe starts showing you scales and stuff on the guitar.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I guess like 1920 and all through there. Joe, he, I would ask him, like, how do you play this, or what is that? And he would always give more, which was cool. So he would like show me chords and show me chord progressions and scales and how those things tie together in music writing. Um, in a nutshell, yeah. So, and I would try to be like, I would try to be figuring out like, how do I play the song, I would try to be like, I would try to figure it out on my own, and then he would be like, move it up a fret, or here, let me show you. And so I got a lot of practice, just hanging out with him.
Was it like mid-20s? I heard you say on one of your interviews that's when you kind of started taking it like serious and like said, hey, this is something
Yeah.
that I'm gonna try to, I would say master, but try to, yeah, basically like get it down.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just like this tool to express myself in this art form. And so I think I always kind of felt like there was something welling up in me and it needed to be let out. And that was just a way for me to do it. But yeah, I did start getting a little bit more serious about it. Yeah, and like my 20s, like late 20s, um, like I was going to school, and then I was taking my music courses and stuff, and things were starting to make a little bit more sense to me. Also, whenever I had to do recitals, that is hard. Doing doing metal like vocals is easy.
Less
Like,
pressure, right? You have people with you and behind you and the whole wall of music behind you.
it's so primal and explosive and id based, I guess, in a weird way. um, for me, it came naturally to try to do it, because every time I would listen to other music, I would connect to it really very strongly, and I would think to myself, I think I could do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. Um, but then when I started taking classical voice, it was very disciplined, and there was no way that you could hide that, you're nervous. Like, your
Yeah.
entire body is, and not to say that metal vocals, it isn't similar, because your body your entire body is an instrument. You're tired after it, you know. But there's no hiding. There's no hiding when you're doing a voice solo at recital. Like you're the only one there, and like the acoustics and just the accompaniment, and that's it. And it's it's uh, it's difficult. It was difficult. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, I feel like I did it to myself to build character because I have a problem with the shyness, right? The anxiety. So after I experienced that, I went back to like, okay, well, let me continue doing this, you know, this more extreme music. Obviously, I'm way more connected to it. Um, and so I picked up the guitar and I started trying to sing and play at the same time. And
Were
I
you
was
messing with the bass also at this time?
at this time, no, it was mostly guitar. So I was starting to try to sing and play songs like "Perverted Before God" by Necrophagia, or "Sodom's a Outbreak of Evil," or "I Drink Your Blood" by Necrophagia. There were these songs that I would practice singing and playing at the same time. "Graveyard Slut" by Dark Throne. Um, at one point, I got polished enough and I was practicing enough that I was able to pull off, oh my god, "In Darkness It Shall Be" by Marduk, which is a lot of words. It's a lot of singing, but it was challenging, and the guitar playing was fast, just like, you know, barred chords, and just moving fast on the neck. So um, at that time, I feel like I was making a lot of progress in my skill set for playing music, just by doing covers. And I wasn't like, I'm gonna start a cover band. It was just me and Joe fucking around in a studio room, like a little bedroom converted to a studio, and we like played a couple like house parties or whatever.
When was your
Uh,
first? I was going to ask you that. When's the first time you performed in a band? Not, not on. Obviously, you did the chorus stuff, but when's the first time you actually played in a band? Was it a house party?
no, actually, the first time I played in a band, I was singing, and this band was like a very just premature, kind of all over the place. I could tell, now looking back, I could tell that the guitarists, riffing wise, were more into like Swedish death metal. Um, so yeah, they had some songs written, and I think one song had lyrics, and they were like, "Hey, try it, come on." And Joe was like, "Come on, help me out." And I was like, "Oh, all right, let me try it out." And I tried it. I was so nervous.
Is that
Um,
Disgraced by Texas
no,
or
no,
Disgraced
that's
by Hate?
not Disgraced by Faith. Yeah, nah, it wasn't that band. I would just jump on the stage and perform with them every now and then. But this other band, it was called Absurdum, like the reductio ad absurdum, this philosophical thing where you reduce everything to absurdity. I thought the concept of that band name was way cooler than what we were actually doing. No, no, it was a good band. It was a good band. It just wasn't really my style, and it did fall apart eventually. But I performed for the first time with them at this place called Grand Central Station. They would throw these like metal shows on Monday nights, I think it was, and there was a lot of people there for it being my first show. It was cool. Um, and I was super nervous, and I was trying to drink to get the nerves down and stuff, and it wasn't working. It it didn't work. Uh, but um, it was, that was the first time, and that must have been in 2004 or five. Um, yeah, that was the first time I'd ever gotten on the stage to do something like that.
I know you were doing, you played bass with several different bands live and
Mhm.
stuff. When did you first start picking up the bass, and what were some of the bands that you were filling in for or part of even at that time period?
Yeah. So bass, like I kind of just messed around with it for a little while. Oh, I know why. I was trying to remember why I got into bass. I remember now. Yeah, so I got into bass because I like the way bass guitar sounds. I heard Danny Lilker on a Ravenous album, Yeah, that song "I Drink Your Blood" that I was telling you about. That's actually the Ravenous. Um, it was like a little EP. Anyway, that Ravenous. When I heard the bass on that, I got really my interest in bass peaked, and I was also listening to a lot of doom metal bands at the time. I think Electric Wizard was coming out, um, and there was some other stuff. But
You're an
anyway,
Autopsy fan too, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
big on.
Hmm. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we had Chris on here. Yeah, I actually put out a split with Abscess and Eat My Fuck. That was the first vinyl I ever released for bands back in the
No
day.
shit.
It was awesome because I was such an Autopsy fan. But I had read you were an Autopsy fan. I heard one cool thing I heard when you were talking about it too is you liked the vocal patterns he would do and the ranges. And I mean I thought it was sick because some of those vocals he does just sounds like someone's dying.
Yeah, I love that shit. I love the mania and the hysteria that he builds in those songs, and yeah, it's great. I can hear it in my head
Yeah.
constantly, and I don't sound like Chris Ryford, but he influenced me a lot. Him and Killjoy. Um,
Yeah, which we'll talk about. I know you wrote something in with Killjoy related, so we'll get to that too when we talk
mhm.
about your releases.
Yeah. What was I talking? Oh yeah. So back to the bass. So then I was like, I want to start a band. And it was very like a stillborn kind of shit project, but it was called Dope Cult. And yeah, Dope Cult. Oh my God. We wrote a lot of music and I was playing bass. I wrote a lot of the songs on Dope Cult, and Joe would always jump in and help me. Because he's just a better guitar player than I am. Um, but I had gotten my first bass, and I started writing music, oddly enough, with a bass. And then when I needed to, I would pick up the guitar and I would start putting riffs together for that band. And there's actually like a video or two like floating around the internet of Dope Cult. There's no lyrics. There are lyrics, but we never put them together. It never got put together.
And no
Uh,
recordings either. You guys didn't do any demos or anything.
and yeah, no, it was just like videos that we did of our rehearsals. So that's where I started practicing it, practicing the bass, and now I had a bass of my own. Um, and then I put it down for a while. People started pissing me off, and I was like, I don't want to fuck with people anymore. Like fucking getting bands together and shit is just getting really irritating. I'm gonna do something else. So I became a dance instructor, and that's a whole different world. But I was studying dance for a long time.
Like ballerina,
Mm,
classical dance. I guess they would. What was
uh, it was belly dance, but I studied like adult ballet and adult flamenco for just a bit, and that went on for like a good 10 years. Um, because I didn't want to fuck with that anymore. But
So
halfway,
are you done doing bass on for bands at that time period? Or are you still filling in for bands and stuff with the bass?
so maybe like 5 years later or so, I don't know. Fast forward to like 2014 or something like that. I get asked to play bass for a D beat band called Dissolver from here in Texas. It was real flash in the pan kind of thing. You know, just typical basic D beat shit. I learned a lot in that band, so I played with them. I also played bass for a bit, just filling in, doing favors for Confused, which is a hardcore band from Texas. Um, and then those things fell apart. Um, and I was like, yeah, whatever, fuck that. And then I moved on to filling it. Oh, I initiated playing bass in Total Human Genocide because Joe was doing this project with Joe Garcia, Picos. That's what we call him. We call him Picos, Lord Picos. And they were doing this project, and I always hear everything that's going on. And I was like, I want to fucking play bass for that. And so I was pestering Joe. I was like, come on, let me play, let me play bass. The shit was already recorded and people heard it and they wanted us to, like, they wanted them to play live. And eventually, like, he's like, all right, you can play bass. And we started rehearsing and playing bass in that band. Like it, it really leveled my skill set up. Like the way that I play, because I like learning. You know, in college, they would say, like, you know, learn other people's music because you're gonna learn their style, how they do things, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna lift it. It's something that's ingrained in you, and when you start writing your own music or your own pieces, um, that influence will come across. So I always found it beneficial to learn other people's music and their style, learn how to play it. Um, I mean, that was even something that would come up in dance, like when we would learn other people's choreographies. It's just a weird, like, disciplinary perspective, but it works. Um, yeah. So I think that's for bass. That's pretty much where it stopped. Because after that, I was like, um, see, like, I guess this was like in 2018 to 2020 with Total Human Genocide. And Joe, the singer, you know, this was his project. This was his, like, baby. And I learned a lot from him in that very short amount of time, um, as far as, like, lyrically and these lyrical concepts and occult concepts. But so he died like in 2020 in March. But from 2018 to 2020, I was like, I don't want to do anything else with anyone else. Like, these are my friends. Like, I know them. I talk to them all the time. You know, Joe Dan and Joe Picos. They've been making music for a long time, and I even did projects with Joe Garcia Picos. In Poser Hate. Like, there's a little EP called Poser Night Fever. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Or no, that's a song. That was the first song we did together. It's called Life is Short, but this EP is shorter, or some shit like that. It's got a song called Poser Night Fever on it, which I think is great. That's one of the best songs that I've ever sang with him. And I can't remember. So there's two other songs on that little EP. But what was I gonna say? So I didn't want to fuck with anyone else anymore. I was already, like, tired of everybody's shit. Uh,
And you also
and-
did by what 2011 was when you were doing that band Lair.
oh yeah, yeah. So this just goes back to us wanting to write music all the time, and I can say this more for Joe. Like, Joe's a maniac. Like, Joe can shit out riffs like in his sleep. It's just the way he is. He's constant. He's just always on it, you know. And me, I'm a little bit more, like, selective, and I don't want to waste my time with shit that I don't really like and that kind of stuff. But anyway, so this what that little EP, or I guess it's like an EP. I don't know how long that recording is, but Layer actually was being written in, like, I want to say like 2006, 2007, and then it did get released, like, yeah, like in 2008 or something like that. It's a little bit blurry because it's been a hot minute. When you brought up Layer, I was like, oh shit, he found that. Okay,
Yeah, I'm actually going to play a track from that too. And you were doing the vocals in that, and then Joe was doing guitars, bass, and
everything,
drums, everything
ev-
else.
everything.
And
Um,
you guys did the Welcome to the, as you were talking about the EP, which was what, Welcome to the Void.
yeah, Welcome to the Void. Um, so I'm trying to remember. There's a I did quite a few of the lyrics, and all, almost all of the vocals except for one song. Um, I think it was the one that you had mentioned in in the emails. Um, I forgot what it was called. I'm so sorry. It's been a long time. But Iris Obscuras, that song, um, I was already starting to play guitar, so I wrote like the first part of that song, like riff wise, um, and I wrote the lyrics for it. Um, and then there was another song I think called After the Rain. Wrote wrote the lyrics for that, and then another song called "Oh Mysteries Revealed." Wrote the lyrics for that. So yeah, that was, man, that was a different time.
Yeah.
um,
What are we song? What is no, so we're gonna play here is how would you pronounce the title to this one?
Iris Obscuros.
Okay.
That's it. Just means dark winds.
Okay, we're gonna play that really fast. We'll be back with you here in a second on the Tampa Morgue. We're gonna play. This is from 2011 from the Welcome to the Void. Was it EP, right?
Yeah.
We'll be back after this track from Lair.
Yeah.
and that was Lair, and we're back on here with Noelia. Okay, so you mentioned the Poser Hate, which we actually played earlier in the show before you came on. So that was another one of Joe's bands, right?
Hmm.
And you said there's multiple people that have dealt with this project, and the song that we played, which was No Answers Here. What could you tell us about that band and that track that we played earlier tonight?
Yeah, so Poser Hate is another project where like all these years of writing music and being in bands, especially for Joe, he would get bored, and he's like, I want to do something. I want to do something else. I'm going to record music. I'm going to keep recording music that's so fulfilling. So I don't know. He would get pissed off about something, and then he would start writing music and recording it, and also trying to figure out recording techniques and methods and setups and things of this nature. Um, so um, Poser Hate was born that way. And No Answers Here, that was already pretty far along the Poser Hate journey. I think that might have been like the third or fourth little EP that he put out. Um, that song features one of my favorite vocalists from Texas. She's also a good friend. We became friends after she actually joined another band that Joe was in called Dagra. And she's a phenomenal vocalist, a really good grindcore vocalist. Um, she has another band right now called Gouger. I think that's what they're called, and they're from Austin and Houston. They're active. But anyway, so back to Ryoko. She used to have this other band called Clint Eastwood, and they did a lot of stuff here in Texas. I don't know if they ever toured outside of Texas, but they're a really good grindcore band. But when she joined Dagra, I really got to see like the kind of like just the kind of like vocalist she really is. Um, it was really inspiring. Um, just how low her voice could go, because I can't do that, like really, really low, almost, I wouldn't say guttural, but just the timbre. And then she could screech high, like she would just go like from her lows to her highs, like seamlessly. Um, and yeah, I just loved watching her perform. And then she is a very energetic performer. But before she joined Dagra, we did this little thing. And so Joe just kind of like, Joe wants to play with everybody. So he starts reaching out to people for fun. And he's like, hey, do you want to put vocals on this? Or do you want to put a lead on this? Da 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 da. But Poser Hate is mainly him doing all the instruments and then getting vocalists. And so that's how that got put together. And yeah, No Answers Here. We kind of just let Ryoko do whatever she wanted on that track. She wrote all the lyrics. She's a very good lyricist. And she sent the track back to us with the vocal track back to us. And then I did the chorus part on that song. Um, I believe, yeah, there was like a couple choruses on that. Choruses and maybe like a verse. I can't remember. The song fucking rules. I love that song. I'm not just saying that because I'm on it. Like I won't sing it really if I don't like it. So I really, I really liked the song. It has a lot of. Well, Joe's a big. Both of us are big Voivod fans. Um, so there's like these little voivod nuances and dissonance that happens in that song, and if I remember correctly. And so, yeah, it came together really, really well, and I really enjoyed working with her. And I can't sing enough praises about her. I really like her. She's a solid person.
Does Poser Hate doing any? Do you guys do any shows, or is there, or is it pretty much just recordings? And is there, is it still active now?
Yeah, Poser Hate is like a sleeper cell. Nah, I'm kidding. We don't. There's no performances. People have asked uh, to for us to perform or whatever, and it never happens. Again, this goes back to like trying to herd cats, getting bands organized and all that shit. So it's worth it more so to just do studio work. In my eyes, that's what I've perceived as far as poser hate is concerned. But yeah,
That
um,
kind of started like, you talk about the studio thing. What was it, like 2019? You pretty much decided you're done with, you don't want to do the whole active band thing, right? And you pretty much want to do the studio thing. Is that,
mhm.
and that's where Hexella starts?
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, in 2019, I was just like, just a bunch of, you can't always get the right people together, and it's very rare. And if you have that, damn, you're fucking lucky. Like if you got a good dynamic with a band, your bandmates, you respect them, you got love for them, they're solid people. That's fucking rare. So, if you can get that, you fucking count your blessings, because you're able to perform this craft that, if you're anything like me, you're kind of obsessed with, because it's this fucking curse. It never leaves me. But yeah, so just finding the right people, and having, gone through different bands and stuff, and that whole spiel, everybody goes through it, I'm sure. Where things aren't jiving, things aren't working out, like personalities and all that shit. So I got tired of that, but I still love music, right? So I'm like, well, I'm gonna just fucking write music for myself and record it. I was always inspired by like uh, like when Toxic Holocaust, and I know like a lot
That
of
Joel
people,
Grind,
yeah, Joel Grind did did
Yellow
I
Goat.
Yellow Goat, and he did I guess like the first few Toxic Holocaust
Yeah.
releases on his own,
Yeah.
and that, like, back then, even back then, like, it inspired me, and I'm like, that can be done. And I had gotten to a point where I could play most of the instruments. The only thing I couldn't do was drum, and you know what, I can drum, but it sucks, so why do it? But when I have Joe, who's, to me, I'm not just saying this, he's a phenomenal drummer, and he really pushes himself to get better and better, and he's just good. um, so he would help me flesh out like stuff for Hexella, or we would just jam out, like we would just play music, right? But then, I decided I wanted to write something for myself. Um,
And the first song you wrote was Blood Ejaculate Chaos, which is,
mhm.
which we could talk about, which we mentioned a couple minutes ago earlier, is you're basically paying respect for Killjoy from Necrophagia.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you might be able you might be able to hear that in the riffing. Um, yeah, it was just I think it also happened to sound the way it ended up sounding because of I was coming out of like DB bands and a hardcore band, and then um, I wanted to do something that was like just very raw and necro punky kind of, but still black, like with a black sound, like I, I don't know how to describe it, but I wanted to do something that had still had dark elements to it, like the occult stuff. And so I wrote that song, and um, when I was first starting Hexea, I I kind of was like had this idea that maybe I could write stuff that was just more inspired by things like the Ravenous, or Necrophagia, and um, but just kind of put a twist on the lyrical themes, and also that coming from like a woman's perspective. Um, a woman being the predator, like just kind of flipping that around. Because you do see a lot of, a lot. I don't You do see a lot of women like in metal music, and I think that's great. Um, and now it's not as rare to see women in like death metal and shit like that, which I think is
Oh,
also
definitely.
yeah.
Well, the
I,
name too, right, has that kind of, so Hexea is to accept one's curse, right? To accept this kind of thing. And where did you get that name? And could you put a little more explanation to it?
so Hexella, you know, you live long enough, and you like say you stand your ground and shit, and people don't like you. You're a disagreeable person, and people don't like you, and that's that happens for everybody, right? So when somebody is actually saying Hexea, you're saying curse her. And this is my interpretation of it, right? like like you're throwing a curse at someone, and then me being the cursed one, right? Like a so to speak, right? I don't care, and I accept it. It is what it is, and that's kind of the general idea of it. Hmm.
How many people say it? I mean, I have to admit, like I said, when I first saw, was telling Ed, I think I was announcing your guys' show a couple years ago when Ed was playing with you guys, and I'm sure I didn't say it right. How many people are butchering this band name when you've talked to them? I'm sure there's shitloads of us. I mean,
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool, man. I've lived with that all my life. I mean, my name is Noelia, and people call me all kinds of different other
yeah, you got to
names.
practice before you come on. You're definitely a challenge coming on the show. I'm like, okay, I got to rehearse this shit and
I
make
was
sure
like,
I
God damn it,
get
this
the name
high
right.
maintenance bullshit. No, no, it's all good. I people mispronounce it. That's all right, man. I'll get my fucking panties in a twist over it. Um, and sometimes I don't even correct them, but whatever. The correct way to say it is Hexea, right? People have called it Hexaya, like you said earlier, and then Hexella. Obviously, everyone's gonna want to say Hexella.
I think Hexel is the first natural reaction when you see it. I
Yeah,
don't know.
which is fine. But that's also the thing about me and my approach to music. Like sometimes you gotta scratch beneath the surface
Yeah.
to figure out the meaning of something. And this goes back to like occultism and Gnostic practices and things of that nature. And so I stayed with it that way. It's also an English word and a Spanish word stuck together. So hex in English, obviously, to hex or curse somebody. Ella means her in Spanish. So there. Yeah.
Who'd you have do the Hexea logo?
Oh, Joe. Yeah, it was just me and Joe sitting in front of the computer trying to figure something out. Nothing too complicated, something you can read, and also just a classic old English font. Uh, my love for Hellhammer. And
Yeah, it's you guys know the artwork for all you guys stuff. Are you guys doing the artwork also on your covers?
uh, all of the covers up to,
I know the split was done with
yeah.
Wolf Skull is done by someone else, which we'll talk about. But for
Hmm.
all the for
So
your
So for the like the Blood Ejaculate Chaos release, which is it's just on Bandcamp. Yeah, that I did that cover. That's me. Um, and then on A Road in Hell, I did that cover. That's me. Um, it's a photo of me that's manipulated. Um, yeah, that's it. We did the layouts for or we did the layout for A Road in Hell. Um, and then the split. Uh, an artist by the name, oh my god, he's from Mexico City. I think his name is Gustavo. I can't remember. He's a fantastic artist.
oh, for the Wolf Skull split.
Yeah, that wolf skull
Um,
split. Hmm.
I was looking at this earlier. Gus Grinder Oliva,
There you
correct?
go. Yeah. I'm like Gustavo Dior. No, just kidding. um, yeah, he did it. He did it, and he's a great artist. I think he's done quite a few covers. None that I can think of right now, but yeah, we all agreed on that cover because we were trying to come up with something with Wolf Skull because Wolf Skull invited us to do that split, which I think was a great honor. Um, when to me, David Etta is David Etta is like a, a bit of a legend, and I can say that because I'm just a little baby born yesterday. Um, uh, he's made a great impact on the Texas scene, and he continues to do that. And so anyway, he sent us an email asking if we wanted to do a split, and I was like, yeah, like easy, like no questions asked, nothing. Yes, want to do split. So anyway, we're trying to come up all together with a concept for it. Obviously, their band name is Wolf Skull, so we got a picture by, oh man, I can't remember. It's an art piece done by, I can't remember the artist's name, but it's basically a piece where these wolves are tearing apart like an image of Christ. And we decided that we wanted, oh, it's not an image of Christ. It's a sheep or a lamb or whatever. And so it's really nice. It's like gold, and it's beautiful and clean. And I can't remember who the artist was. Anyway, we sent that to the artist, and we were like, hey, can you do something based off this concept for this release that we're doing? Make it very satanic and very sacrilegious. And so that's how we came up with that one. And then for the release that's coming out, The Ancient Gaping Mouth, the new full length, which is our first full length, um, we got a couple artists to help us out with this one. And um, the cover, it was done by an artist that goes under Deprav Arts, and he's out of, I think he's out of Chile. And then there's an image on the inside of it, and it's got like kind of like a levitating skull woman with a scythe. Uh, she's got like a Luciferian, like a seal on her chest, and that one was done by, he goes by Dracone Black Arts, and you can find both of those artists on Instagram. But they helped us out with those. um, it was just, it was important that I found those artists because of the kind of things that I was writing about, um, in that full length. So it worked out.
And you say writing because you're doing with Hexella, you're doing basically writing everything, right? You're pretty much writing the majority of the music and lyrics.
So
Um,
lyrics, that's all me. There was only one song that lyrics were written for. Actually, there's one song on the split, to be exact, uh, called Derramando Sangre, which means spilling blood. Um, Joe wrote that song, and he wrote the lyrics for that song. Now, on this full length, we wrote the songs together. Some songs I did write completely, but a lot of the songs, Joe, we really got together and we fleshed them out together. Um, but lyric wise, that's always me. So the whole, yeah, the whole album lyrically, that's me.
and you mentioned, obviously we talked about the studio earlier. This is Negative Audio. That's your home studio, correct? Because you guys are doing the Blood Ejaculate Chaos demo from 2021. You guys are doing there, and you're also going over to a place called the Red Barn and doing some. Are you doing the vocals over
Oh,
there?
nah, we only did that one time. Joe was helping out that studio owner with a project at the time, and we were like, it could be kind of fun, like to, go over there and do that, see what that sounds like. But that was just just a one-off time for that first EP, and that was it. Blood Ejaculate Chaos, all that got done here.
Okay.
The
And are
stuff for
you
the
guys
split,
writing?
all that got done here. Go ahead.
And are you guys like? I figure obviously it's you and Joe, and you guys are you have the studio at the house. Are you guys constantly like throwing around riffs? Like, is it, like you next you guys do what, the 5 song 2021 released Road in Hell.
Hmm.
I mean, basically, is there ever a pause in the writing, or are you just pretty much writing like continuously?
So, a Road in Hell, that that EP I wrote the whole EP. Um, I would write the riffs, and then I would show them to Joe, and he would flesh them out on drums with me. And pretty much the riffs were written, and I would say I want it to sound like this, or I want it to sound like that, or put a D beat there, or make it faster, make it slower, whatever. Um, yeah. So riff wise, that EP, like, that was me. The guitar leads, that's Joe, and all the drums, that's Joe. Um, but on the full length that we're doing, this is more integrated. Like, this is more like both of us.
And how do you guys get involved with? You're involved with 2 labels at that time period, right? You guys are involved with Goat Throne out of
Mhm.
Houston, and you guys are also involved in one more. If you could help.
Tenebrous, yeah,
Yes, yes.
tenebrous aberrations. Yeah, yeah. So whenever we finished up with Road in Hell, which honestly I think I wrote that EP in about 3 months, and whenever we were done, I was talking to Joe, and I was like, you think this could get released like on tape? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I want to see if Goat Throne will release it. And I asked him to talk to Aaron, because he was more in communication with Aaron from Goat Throne Records. And Aaron, man, I also can't say enough good things about him. He was great to work with, um, real easy to work with. So anyway, he reached out to him. He showed him the tracks and stuff, and he was like, yeah, yeah, like, you know, we can put it out on tape. And he's like, if you want to put it out on CD, I can, direct you to maybe a couple labels to see who would be interested. And so he kind of pointed us towards Tenebra's Aberrations, who is actually from the Valley. Like, they're from Mexico, right? But they now live in the Valley. And he went out, on not a, well, he went out on a limb for us without even, like, I guess, me asking. He showed it to them, and they liked it. So they were like, yeah, we'll put it out on CD. So yeah, that's how that happened. The EP was written in the summer. We asked the labels, like, the summer going into the fall. By the time winter came around in 2022, that everything was out.
Okay. Now I'm going to play a song off of the A Road in Hell here in a moment. You guys also had a song, the High on Demonic Possession, that was also on a Legions of Evil comp tape
Oh
from Evil
yeah.
Productions.
Hmm. Yeah.
Was that like, how'd you guys get involved with that?
They reached out to us. So yeah, yeah, they reached out, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to be featured on this tape? We're doing, just a compilation tape of several bands. I think Infestation of Evil was on that compilation, and they're a Texas band that I like a lot. And this other band that we got to play our first show with, they're really good, kind of very motor charged band, sadistic.
Sadistic Force.
Yeah, yeah, that's them. Um, I think they're on that too. But yeah, yeah. So they reached out to us, and I was like, yeah, yeah. I just sent them the track, and it's out there somewhere. I've never seen it.
You never got a never got a copy.
That's okay, man. Just whatever. It's floating around.
We're gonna play Transmutation from the 2021 A Road in Hell demo, and then we'll be back after this track. This is Hexella with Transmutation. and that was Transmutation from a Road in Hell demo. And you mentioned the first show. Around this time is like Joe is saying to you, hey man, we need to get a lineup together so we can do some shows. Because I know your first show is January 22nd, 2022 at the White Swan in Houston.
Yeah. And we were supposed to play that show with Wolf Skull, and we're super excited about that. But yeah, we were looking just for a show to like jump on in support of the release. Um, and somehow we got a lineup together, which isn't the same lineup that we have now, but we were able to get a lineup together, and um, we played that show. And that show was with Sadistic Force, Merciless Savagery, XIL, and another thrash band called Exedium, I think. All really
That
good bands.
that venue, if is it true that that thing's been around since like 1937, the White Swan?
I don't know, but it kind of looks like it.
Yeah, I think it's a really old venue. So you guys did that, and so for you and Joe, is it easier to? Because I know you've had some people record, like we were talking about Richard earlier, which I think he recorded on the split, which we'll talk about, like you
Hmm.
mentioned with Wolf Skull. Is it easier for you guys to keep it in house with you two than having like like I said, me and Ed have been bands our whole life. We know how it goes. It's a lot of
Hmm.
it's like a big marriage of five people all the time. Is it easier for you guys to keep it the way you guys have it, where it's pretty much you and him, and producing? Obviously, you're writing most of the stuff, but you guys are kind of in charge, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like music writing, that's we take the direction like in that position of the band. Sometimes, like on this album, there was times where we would tell Richard, "Hey, come in, uh, learn this, and we also want to show you something else," and then we'd end up fleshing something out with him. So there would be tracks where like we needed him there so we could hear how the bass was going to
Yeah.
sound, or what he see what he could do in that, in with his bass, in that, like in the riffing, in the progression of the riffing. So it is like a little bit different now, but for the most part it's mostly me and Joe, because like everybody's so busy. I feel like everyone's just, I get, we're old, man. No, we got shit going on all the fucking time. And uh, like I said, Hexea was a thing where it's like, I'm just going to sit down with a guitar and write some shit, something that I like. So if I'm going to sing, I need to like the song. And I don't know, it's predominantly us. So in that aspect, there will be times where Joe will write things because he can just write and write and write and write. And I'm like, no, that's not for Hexea. Like that's maybe use, and he'll use it for something else. Um,
How's that also? Because we had Luis on here from Hemorrhage, and obviously he's married to the guitar player, his wife. And he was telling us, it's all good and great until the day you're pissed off at each other and you have to go on stage and play. Or do you guys ever find that, you're just not in the mood to deal with each other and you guys still have to deal with each other? Is that ever a problem for you too?
so I think that conflict and friction, like adversarial energy, is good in the creating process. I know that sounds fucked up, but there's a lot of back and forth, and there's a lot of, it's me rebuking things, like be like, nah, I don't like that. Nah, that's too clean. Like, just our styles of writing are different, and the things that I gravitate towards more are more on the primitive, uh, kind of go for the throat styles. And he's very musical. Like he's just, um, if you hear him speak, I think that's the way that he can write, if he's left to his own devices. uh, which it's good for. for maybe another band, but for me, I'm very like very uh, I don't know, short, direct, uh, and in writing aggressive. Uh, yeah, it's just different writing style. So there'll be times where like we're back and forth, and nah, dude, I don't like that, and well, what do you want? And, like, make it blacker. I don't know. Or I need you to make it sound like two snakes are fighting it out, or like weird shit like that. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he doesn't say that, right? But I'm sure he's
Yeah.
thinking like, what language are you speaking? But no, it works out. It works out. Joe Dan and I have been fighting for years, and here we are. So
2025. Yeah, we're gonna drop a new album here in a few minutes, actually. And you guys, what is your first live lineup in that band?
the first live lineup, um, I'll give you the official one. So the official first live lineup was myself vocals, Joe guitar, Richard bass, and Daniel Garcia, who's in a lot of other bands as well. He's in Cryptic Mutation and King in Yellow. Um, he was in this other band called Blast Perversion for like many, many years with his brother. And so we've all known each other for a really long time. And so that was the first official lineup.
In 2022, you start really doing a lot of shows, right? You're playing with Maximum Trauma, Unholy Desecration, and Infernal Rot. You did Deep in the Pit of Texas Fest. You guys are starting to get actually like really active. What are some of the bands that you recommend? I mean, and we actually had Revik on here, so we know the guys from Morbid. We know Revik from Morbid
Hell
and
yeah.
stuff like
Hmm.
that. But what are some of the bands that you were playing with, say, 2022, 2023, that you would actually recommend to people who have not heard them?
Yeah. So I know Maximum Trauma, I think, is disbanded now, but that band was fucking cool. Um, Merciless Savagery, great fucking uh, like blackened death thrash band kind of. I don't. It's really good shit. Like they're out of Houston. They actually helped us get um, our first show. That very first show, Lily from Merciless Savagery helped us out with that. It was cool to meet her and watch her band because like she's a really really good guitar player and a fantastic vocalist, and I love what they do. So I recommend that band a lot. Who else were we playing? I
You
mean,
guys are playing with Blackjack. What was it? Black
oh,
Jackal also.
Black Jackal, Wolf Skull, Imprecation, Pius Levis. Uh, those are like local bands that I would recommend. Sangre en Buddha from Brownsville, Texas. Um, I don't think they're as active as they used to be, but when they came out, they put out a couple releases, and I really liked them a lot. Um, I'm trying to think of other bands. Um, I don't know. That's all I can think of right now. If something comes to me, I'll let you know.
And you mentioned the Wolf Skull, the split earlier. So that all started from your appearance on Jamming Out All Badass.
Yeah. It that happened because I think they heard me singing their praises because when I like something, I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve about it. Like I just if you like something, or if I like something, I'm gonna say, hey, that's good. I like that. I like what they're doing. So yeah, I think they heard me talking about them, and that's when uh, Dave reached out, and they did it because well, they're also on Goat Throne Records, and Goat Throne. I wanted to approach Goat Throne Records because bands like Wolf Skull were on Goat Throne Records or are on Goat Throne Records, and Black Jackal was on Goat Throne Records, and in Texas, it being my first release, I wanted something Texas to have something Texas based, and it was the only place that I thought I fit in with what it is that I was writing. Because I mean, if you listen to the releases, there it's not just one thing genre, or it's not just one. Like, you can hear a lot of influences in it, and I don't know what to say about that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you guys did some covers on there too.
Hmm.
You guys did a Bathory cover of "You Don't Move Me." Wolf Skull did a cover of "Evil Has No Boundaries," and you did some of the backups on that track also.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Dave initiated that. Um, yep, did that. Dave actually is on the intro, on the B side, on our side. Him
I think we're gonna
and
play that here in a minute too, actually, from the split, the "Invoking," and then
yeah,
"Midnights on Fire."
hmm yeah. So I uh, I asked him if he would do some vocals on that, on the Invoking Hexea, and he accepted, which was cool. And also Francisco. Oh, ETD. I have to mention ETD. Uh, Highly recommend uh, their that band. They're somebody that we played with. But anyway, Francisco, he had been in. He had started some other bands. He's in HRA, and he was in Cemetery, and he did Thy People Savior. He's on that recording as well, and they're just basically like summoning Hexea. Uh, and yeah,
And you guys all collaborated on that, right? With Hexea, also, you guys do all this stuff in house. And when you guys did the split, you guys pretty much came out with everything. You guys, we talked about the artwork already and stuff. Is that the first time you guys had because Richard recorded bass on that, right? Was that the first time you guys had someone besides you and Joe playing on one of your guys' out
yeah,
demos or EPs?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, that's Richard. That's Richard on bass there. Um, and he's got a really good sound, especially live. I like to hear a good bass sound, a bass heavy sound, live. It's what I like, the bass, like I said earlier. So I like it to be heard. Uh, but yeah, he's on that recording, and this is when we start getting him involved.
We're gonna play that, and then we're gonna talk about your new record that's coming out for Hexea and also Wolf Skull. This is the first vinyl release for both of the bands, and it's also the first vinyl release for the label.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, so I'm gonna play Hexea, Invoking Hexea, Midnights on Fire from the split with Wolf Skull, and we'll be back after this track on the Tampa Morgue. We're back on the morgue here. So you're still doing 2023. You're doing shows with bands Trench Warfare, Cryptic Mutation. Um, you guys again. We mentioned earlier in the show you do the NYDM International Annual Fest with Wicked Angel and Ed and Monstrosity, Dismember. So you guys are busy with that. So how do you guys get hooked up with Hells Headbangers?
Well, um, Francisco is like, ever since Hexella came out, I'm not sure why, but he really, he's one of like, one of those people that like really help push our name out there, by asking us to come on, the show, and just, I don't know, he just liked the music and he was sharing it a lot. And he actually he actually like put it in Headbanger's face and was like, "You should check this out." And so that's how that happened. They checked it out and they were like, "Hey, okay." And then next thing you know, I'm getting an email from Chase, and that was that.
Yeah, and they're a great label too. I always think of in the States at least. I mean, it's pretty much the place to go. I mean, they pretty much have everything. And
Yep.
have you got now something that I don't know? Have you guys ever played outside of Texas yet?
No, no, we haven't. We're hoping to try to get something going maybe this fall. Nothing is completely set in stone, but things are in motion. Hopefully, we'll be out on the East Coast. So maybe that will happen. Um,
How about you? Have you any consideration like if someone asked you to play a festival over in Europe and stuff like that, would that be something you'd be open to?
yeah, absolutely. There, I'm still needing to get a passport, but yeah, absolutely. I would totally do it.
And as of bands, before we talk about the new record coming out, as of bands that you've opened up for that I haven't mentioned, what are some of the highlights in your personal? We all have that. I know there's bands that I've played with where it's like a checklist. I'm like, hell yeah, that's great, that's great. What is your, you know, the bands that you've played with where you're just like, holy shit, this is awesome. I can't believe I'm playing with these guys. You don't have to say Monstrosity because Ed's sitting here too. Don't worry.
So, um, I know. I mean, it's just Texas, right? But imprecation was a big one for me. Um, uh, Playing with, oh man, I'm trying to think of,
You guys played with Pyrexa, right? Nasty Savage, I know you guys played with.
yeah, that I think it was fucking crazy that we were doing, like a fest where like bands like Nasty Savage and
Dismember, which
Monstrosity,
is
Dismember, like what the fuck, like that's crazy. I thought that was nuts that we were doing that. Um, I'm trying to think of other bands. I'm trying. I'm going through these flyers. No, Mortuary was one of them. I was like, oh shit, we're opening up for Mortuary from Mexico. That's crazy. Oh, and like we also opened up for Brujeria, and like Brujeria, when Raza Odiada came out, I was like, whoa, that's fucking heavy. Like, I hadn't ever heard anything like that before. And so, fast forward all these fucking years later, um, we opened up for them. Um, and I thought that was wild. I just thought, like, what? Like, that's crazy. Like, one
I
day
did see
you're a
that
little,
flyer, yeah.
one day you're a kid just listening to Raza Odiada in your bedroom, and then the next thing you know, you're fucking opening up a show, for them, and that's a little surreal for me. Um, I'm trying to think of other bands because I mean we've done just a lot of local stuff. Mm, I know when we first played with Pius Levis, that was a big deal to me. Um, Morbosidad, that was another one. We got to do a show with Morbosidad. Um, yeah, I think right now off the top of my head, that would be it.
You guys have the new record coming out on Hells Headbangers, The Ancient Gaping Mouth. That's out June 27th, CD, cassette, and vinyl. So this is actually your debut full length, 11 tracks, again, recorded at Negative Audio, the home studio. Are you excited to get your first full length out?
Yeah, yeah, that's the first time I, like, we're excited and we put a lot of work into it. And like for me, I mean, Joe's a seasoned musician and he's been in lots of bands, but I never thought like it would, I would end up like releasing a full length, or it was s- something I initiated. Um, I just, after doing everything that we did, and like to write the album, and it can get grueling because I'm so up my own ass. No, like I'm so such. I'm like, everything has to like have this. It has to be meaningful, and it has to, I have to play riffs intentionally, and the words that are being said during, like, why, I don't know why I have to be that
Well,
way,
that's
but
what I was gonna say too. It's when you do this new record, The Ancient Gaping Mouth, are you like, is there something you're trying to do different than the past material? Or is it like, okay, is there a certain magic you're trying to catch or a certain thing that you haven't caught in the past that you're trying to bring to the new material?
yeah, it. I feel like this is a culmination of just traditions in like occultism, where like I learned a lot from being in total human genocide, because there was like a release that we didn't actually release. Well, there's some recordings we didn't release, and I started helping lyrically with that. And I always would talk to Bicos, Joe Garcia. Um, I would always talk to him and ask him questions about like Satanism and Luciferianism, and different paths of uh, anti-cosmic Satanism and things of that nature. When we would talk a lot, so this influenced me a lot, and a lot of that is in the record. Um, I wouldn't say that it's, well, yeah, it is different, but from like a road in hell, let's say. Um, but it's just I guess when he died, it was like a really difficult thing. And I feel like he lives in a lot of our music because we were so close with him, as far as like creating music and writing lyrics and just hanging out and talking about things goes. But so he there is a lot of his like his influence that goes into it. Not to say, oh, it's all him. Like, no, I develop my own thoughts and I have my own perspectives. And like I was saying earlier, we fought a lot, so I wasn't always like, oh yeah, your way is the right way, like kind of a thing. We were always arguing, but again, this good conflict and adversarial energy, I think, is a very good thing, um, even coming from, especially coming from your friends and your family or whatever. Like, it's thought provoking, and it can change your perspective on things. And eh, you know, but I'm not trying to go into a rabbit hole there on that. Yeah, other than I guess like lyrically, I always try to imbue these kind of energies into my lyrics. I think The Ancient Gaping Mouth is more focused on these kinds of concepts of Luciferianism and anti-cosmic Satanism. Um, it's a way to carry on, I guess, like a tradition that was shown to me, right? Um, and furthering that musically, always carrying on, that tradition of old, proto, I guess, black metal. Um, these like old Sodom and old Bathory and old Celtic Frost, Hellhammer, like all of that kind of stuff. But just keeping those primitive kind of approaches to lyric, not lyric, to riff writing, but also using everything that we've learned along the way, because there's been a lot of crossover, hardcore, fastcore, grindcore, black metal, that it's imbued in what we know how to do, and how we write the riffs now. Um, and yeah, so I think that there's a more, maybe like a more black metal side to this album than on the other ones, on the other releases. But it's always, like if you listen to it, you can always hear it like surface. Um, but it isn't like full blown like traditional black metal. It's like this.
You guys have a mix. You can hear some Motorhead in there. You can hear
Hmm.
some Bath. You can hear a lot of different things in your guys' music.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I would definitely say that I feel like we're these bastard mutations of metal and also punk. So
We're gonna play actually a song from the new record too. Do you like the people to kind of read your lyrics and take them as they take them, or
yeah,
sometimes when I mean, I don't know about you, but growing up, I would listen to a song and you take your own meaning from it. Is that what you kind of want the listener to take?
absolutely, because I'm not here to tell people how to think. I'm not, you know, here to try to start a fucking cult. Um, I'm not, about that. I think it's important that people have their own thoughts and receive art the way that they need to receive it. Um, Everybody comes from different backgrounds, and art has different meanings to people depending on where they come from. And, as somebody who also consumes music and art, um, growing up, music always had like a lot of very special meanings to me, and it shaped me into becoming like who I am and the kind of musician I am, and how I approach things musically. And yeah, just, yeah, I think it's important that people have their own thoughts. There is no one way.
Are you guys, but basically like you write the riffs and the lyrics come second? Is it the you guys put the songs together first and then kind of the lyrics are the finishing product?
No, that's not always the case. Sometimes I just write stuff for, like, I just write stuff. And, I'll be reading something, I'll be studying something, I'll be really into something. I'll get hooked on an idea. Sometimes I'll be listening to a song, and I'll hear three words that they say, just a phrase, and a switch goes off, and I start writing. Uh, it won't even be about what that song is about. It's just a phrase that I caught and how it impacted me, and then a song will come out of it. Um, mhm. Yeah.
Do you
So,
ever have go ahead, I'm sorry.
oh yeah, no. So lyrics they're always kind of there. Sometimes, yeah, the riffs will come first, and then I'll write the lyrics. Maybe if I feel like what I have has nothing to do with the emotion that is being evoked over here. So yeah, yeah. So it can go either way.
Are you a gear person and what are you playing?
So I'm not a gear person, right? But I have a Schecter. Um, I played on that thing for a really long time, but I really do like the way uh, the Fender Jazz Masters sound, especially for hardcore punk music. I also really like Gibsons for bass. This is for bass, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, bass wise, that's if I could choose. And Richard actually plays a Gibson, and it sounds fantastic. Um, So yeah, I as far as like sound itself goes, I like a very like aggressive low end. If we can get away with a distortion and fuzz where there's a good balance of still being able to hear everything without it getting too fucked up and muddy. Uh, we love to try to do that live. Um, but yeah, yeah, I'm not the gear person. Uh, I'm a riff writer.
New albums coming out. What do you guys have planned? You're just gonna get the record out and figure it out from there.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Um, yeah, we don't really have any gigs planned just yet. Summer is off the fucking table. Absolutely not. No summer shows. No fucking thank you. Well, not in Texas, man. Um,
Ed, what's
but
your temperature over there? Ed's always in like the five. It's like been like 97, 98 over there. But if you're in three digits, you got him beat.
Yeah, we're 92 right now, so
Uh,
it's pretty overcast outside.
we're like 70 here right now.
oh, you know what? It's 91, but it feels like 101
Ah, yeah.
here. Oh man, it's so fucking hot. But yeah, back to your question. Yeah, we're just gonna. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, my ADD is kicking in. Um, I did really love playing my blower box um, for my bass. I did want to add that. I bought that little pedal from a little company at a college station, and it was like a not Piggy. I'm so sorry, Blackie. Like it was like trying to emulate the Blackie sound, which I love, especially from those early albums. Anyway, so back to the record. I'm sorry, what was your question?
Oh, just what do you guys have planned on the way out? Like, you guys have like you said, there's not many shows planned right now and stuff.
Mhm.
Have you already started writing? Like I said, I know it's usually I wouldn't think like this, but I know you and Joe live together, so you're already starting to write new material, or are you someone who has to like take in what you've done and take a little break?
Yeah, so writing right now is, I was actually having this conversation with someone, and I won't write anything if I don't have a reason to. I need to have something that has moved me. I like that's what happened with the first EP. Um, my friends died, uh, and everything was crazy. Like it wasn't just like people dying. It was uh, like um, what do you call it? Other kinds of deaths, like um, relationships ending and old ways of doing things ending, and lots of changing. You know, so things have to happen to me. Lyrically, I do always write. I'm always like writing little things here and there, and I'm always reading. Riff wise, yeah, like I have to be like really moved. Um, yeah, that for me personally, that's how I work right now. I'm just trying to keep up with, I guess, the business of releasing all of this, all of the new release and all that, because it's, and people don't, I guess, see it, but it's a lot of back and forth, long distance communication, emails, and then just trying to keep up with your own life and like it's the business part, it's the part where you're not being artistic and where life hasn't moved you genuinely just yet. um, Things have to happen. If I don't have a reason to be writing something or saying something, I don't do it, because I'm not just gonna fucking start writing something just to put out a record, like, for no reason. Does that
That
make
makes
sense?
sense.
Does that make
That
sense?
makes
That and
yeah.
that's just me. That's my way is not the only way, and you know, it's
Well,
different
you
for
got
everyone.
now you have a new album coming out, and I appreciate you giving us your time too. Like I said, I know you don't do many of these.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on. I really enjoyed this interview. It was a good one. Yeah.
We're gonna play. Let me see here. Where the Scythe Falls. Can you tell us about
Yeah,
that song?
yeah. Actually, that's a song that I was like, oh, I'm writing this one. um, yeah, that where the scythe falls. I really like this song. Actually, it's very simple and straightforward, which a lot of our music is like that. But especially mine. Um, it opens up with kind of just this kind of straightforward, uh, I guess, a mid-tempo riff. Um, and then it progresses into like kind of a necro riff. That's what I call it. And then it goes into like some blasts, and it's got that old, first wave black metal spirit to it. And if you know me, I was really influenced by that Mysterious Dom Satanas album. Um, so when I was learning to play guitar, that kind of riffing, like I just tried it. I was like, oh, this feels good. This sounds cool. It sounds big. Um, and so you can hear that in that song towards the end there. It's a lot of blasting, and then there's a little break where you hear like a bomb blasting. Um, it gets real intense, and then it goes back to that regular, like, you know, that that normal blasting. The other thing about this song that I think is my favorite thing or notable is the bass lines. Um, I got to play around a little bit with some bass writing, like writing some licks on the end there, which is, I love playing the bass. And I feel bad because I'll take the bass away from Richard. Like, yeah, you got to play these, you got to play like this. And he's like, dude, it's your fucking band. I'm like, no, it's our band. But still, like, I want to write this part because I can hear something and it won't leave me. And if I don't get it out, it's going to bother me. And that's just the way that is. Lyrically, the song is very, it's a very like final song. It's a song about endings and um,
It's the final song on the record too, right?
yeah, it's the final song on the record. Um, I think it was a good way to end that record. It just happened that way. Um, before we put that song in its final state, Joe and I were mulling around with riffs, and we had the song one way, and something was not right, like sitting right. And Joe had written these killer, like almost like these Satyricon sounding folky riffs on towards the end of it, and it sounded so good. Like those riffs were really good, but it didn't fit. It didn't fit. Like it just wasn't quite right. And so we had to keep going back and like taking things out and then rewriting them for the end of the song. Um, Joe contributed that there's this little that bomb blast part towards the end where it gets like real intense and then it goes back to the regular blasting. He was like, I'm gonna take that out too, and I was like, no, 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 leave that in. That's you can really feel something when that part is being played like that. That needs to stay like that. Um, but yeah, that song, I like the dynamic of how that song goes, and it weaves in and out of things. Yeah, there's a video out for it. If anybody wants to watch it, we got oh man, he's from Extreme Media, based out of Mexico City. I think his name is Edgar. Oh, I know. To the artist who did our video, First of all, you fucking rule. Second, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. I'm
You'll
real bad
remember it
with
afterwards.
names.
That's always how it
Yeah,
happens. You'll be like,
yeah.
fuck.
But he's fantastic, and he really worked really well with us to create that video. That video is just, it was kind of a like Hell's Headbangers was doing some videos, like for us. They did two videos. They did Ophitic Revelation, and they did Black Earth. Those were the ones that were first released. And really cool videos that they were sticking with like an aesthetic. And I kind of wanted to like do something separate from that, just to kind of give it a different dimension, or give a different, I don't know, just a different like facet of what is also going on. And it was just, it just worked out, the way we were working with this artist. So it was really cool, and he enjoyed actually during the video. He commented on that. Um, so yeah, there's a video out for that, and yeah, everyone should check it out if they got a minute.
And anybody who wants to get some merchandise from the band or anything, where could they, anywhere you want to send anybody who's listening to the show that wants to check out anything Hexella?
Yeah, so Hell's Headbangers has pre-orders up. They're going to start shipping things out, I believe, on the 27th. I know some people already have tapes, and I think they have shirts, that that they had put out some like a two-sided design, um, a front and back design for a shirt, for this album, and I think people already have those shirts. Um, so yeah, they can go to Hills Headbangers. They can get that the pre-sale for that already, or just wait till the 27th till it's released. They can also get Burn With Us. I think they still have a few copies of Burn With Us. I don't know if A Rhoda in Hell is available anymore. Um, there are like, they can go to our Bandcamp and download whatever's there. Um, there's some stuff up on Spotify. Not all of it is up on Spotify, but they can jam. They can jam our shit through there too. Um, if you go to our shows, we usually have like different shirts. Like, I try not to do the same thing twice, and I'm really not that big on, I guess, like selling our merch online. But if you absolutely must have something, you can reach out to us, on Instagram, or through the Facebook, on the Facebook like Messenger. You can reach out to the Hexella page, or the Bandcamp contact as well. Um, yeah, I mean, we're just an underground band. We're not, we're not like,
Not Motley Crue.
yeah.
We'll go back to the beginning of the show. Noelia, we really appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us, and we wish you the best of luck on this new record that's coming out on June 27th, on Hells Headbangers. And we're going to play a song on the way out of here, but is there anything else you want to say on your way out?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to you guys, for having me on the show and taking any interest in this project. And, just big hails to everybody that uh, comes out to our shows and supports our shit and like shares our stuff. Like I said before, we're not Molly Crew. We're just an underground band. And so that helps us a lot. And, it helps the label and all that good shit. And um, yeah, it really, it's cool to see, uh, it's cool to see like the underground thrive in the way that it does, because of the support from these subcultural communities. It's cool. So big hails to everybody, who supports Hexella, and it means a lot to us.
Great. Well, we appreciate you. We're going to play Where the Scythe Falls from the new record, The Ancient Gaping Mouth, that is out June 27th on Hell's Headbangers. Again, we appreciate you, Noelia. Thank you for hanging out. We'll say goodbye to you in a minute. Everybody else will be back on the Tampa Morgue with me and Ed after this track. This is Where the Scythe Falls.
By the spirit bound to my flesh,
That was Hexella with Where the Scythe Falls from the Ancient Gaping Mouth record that comes out June 27th on Hells Headbangers. And we want to thank Noelia for hanging out with us on the morgue tonight and basically giving us a history lesson on Hexella. Ed, how you doing, man, over there?
I'm still here.
Another episode. Another
96
episode.
in the books almost. Like
within
2 minutes we'll be in the books.
Yeah, and you know, we always talk about it, me and you. You know, like I said, we do this show, but we pretty much talk every day. One thing that this show does do, which I do appreciate, because you know we're getting at the age where it's very easy to go put on the same records all the time. Like I know me, you get that comfort zone, and I'm totally like that. You know, I'm like, oh, I have a shitload of records, but they're all from a certain time period. So one thing about the Tampa Morgue that I do like is you learn about new bands. We've had a handful. You know, we're doing weekly shows, so it gives us more of an opportunity to find a lot of the bands that we've never heard of, and we've had some on. I mean, that band Heimland from Norway, I discovered them going to see Take play a show. I had no idea who they were. Saw them, was impressed. Talked to them after the show. They came on the show.
It was a great episode.
Great episode. Great guys. We had another Norway band. We had Scythe, came on from Norway. Another band that was not really. Well, I basically found out from them from the demo they put, or the EP, I guess you're going to call it, the EP they put out on Caligari Records out of Tampa. So, you know, there's more too. Blood Serpent from Vietnam. There's just bands that if we didn't do this show, I don't know if I would find out about them all, because there is a lot of, like when I'm reading, like when we get releases, Ed, I see the releases. Like I said, there's tons of releases. We only read some of them because if we didn't, it would be like a 2-hour show. So, well, it is a 2-hour show, but you know what I'm saying? It'd be like a shitload of, because I mean, there's no lie that there's usually like 20 releases I get a week, and I kind of try to split them up because we're doing a show every week. But it does give us the opportunity to learn a lot about a lot of bands that we've never. I know I don't know about you, but I didn't know about half of the bands that we have coming on that are younger bands. So, and Hexella, I saw the logo.
You're a little more involved than I am, because most of those bands are from Europe. So you kind of, you're into that type of, and you like black metal a little more than I do.
I like the whole Black Death thing is I really like that. And I like, that's always me and you, like we agree on, like me and Ed probably agree on like 98% of music, but there is some different. I'm definitely into like those kind of underground bands where Ed's into like some more, not even technical. I would never, Ed's not into the technical shit, but into bands that I'm not into, so to say, from certain time periods. And that's where it's kind of good because we can kind of mix it up a little bit, I mean.
Well, and I also listen to more, like I like the Mastodons and the High on Fires and the kind of sludgy shit.
Yeah, and that's exactly.
And so that's where where I hear that kind of stuff, and you learn about this kind of stuff, and we kind of bring it all together because we're the same but we're different, because we grew up, we're 5-6 years difference in age.
Exactly.
So, we both live the same, era for the most part, and grew up on the same shit. So yeah, I just like, sometimes I realize that older shit just sounds better to me sometimes. And I listen to the new stuff when we do the new releases, and I'm telling you what I find. I listen to them in full, and sometimes it's like, holy shit, this is great. And then other times it's just, there's really not a, I don't know, man, finding that diamond in the rough sometimes is hard. And it happens.
Yeah, and even the releases I'm reading, man, I haven't heard all these bands. I get a list of releases. I check some out maybe, but I haven't heard every band that we're talking. I mean, it's not possible. I don't think there's enough time in the day.
No way. I mean, maybe if you heard, like, if somebody gave you a compilation of what was coming out next week, and you could play it at the gym as a compilation, so one song and then you see who it is, that would be one thing. But trying to go through complete records when you got 10 releases, imagine trying to listen to 10 full records before another show. You couldn't do it. It's just
well, it's like you said, we have that whole thing now where there's like 5 million bands, because you remember, what was it, at Death's Door, that compilation when it came out when we were kids. It was great. I mean, every band, I still remember you had the Deicide with they had the blood on the pig blood on their faces inside the cover, and Ex-Hoarder, and it was all just killer fucking songs. But it was all new, but there wasn't 5 back then. there was a handful of bands, so to say, where now it's like, it's hard to keep up and everything. So
Right. And then even look at Hexella and her husband. Look how many bands he's in. I
he's in a
mean,
shitload of bands. Yeah.
I think about the one time when I was doing like Diabolic and Contorted and then Execration, and I was doing all these bands, and I'm like, dude, I just can't. It got to a point where it's like, there's just I can't do it. It was even I didn't even have kids then, and I couldn't do it. It was just it eats away your life, unless it's paying the bills. To me, it's hard to dedicate when you have a full-time job too.
Well, it's like Butler. Look at Terry Butler. He's got like Obituary and Human Condition, Left to Die, but all of them are paying the bills. They all have they all have a decent little paycheck behind them. So
and he's gone for long stretches of time for each of those bands, and but yeah, he's able to live off that. That's a different story.
Yeah,
I
think with Hexella was actually, it's funny because when you were doing that show we were talking about earlier, the Texas show, the San Antonio gig, I remember seeing the logo on there, and I'm sure that I was butchering that band name like back then, because now that I know what it is and stuff, I'm like, oh, okay.
And it was funny because when she said, and I didn't bring it back up, but when she said she played, because she's like, you guys played before us, and that's what kind of threw me off, because that's why I thought they played Friday, because there was a band that had a girl playing Friday too, and I got confused. But I do remember they played the other room, and I saw them. I did. I walked over there, and I didn't realize, like, dude, it was so hot. And when we got off stage, I was tired as shit. And I remember I ran over there to see who was playing, because you always do that. And the room was literally, you could walk around and go right there, because it's like a regular festival. While this band's setting up, that band's playing, back and forth. But that was at the same time Ronnie was like, hey brother, can you come up and announce us? And I was like, no.
Oh, that's right. You announced Nasty Savage that night.
The guys were asking me. They kept asking me, Jim and all them. Like, dude, no. What do you want me to fucking announce you guys for? He goes, dude, you're from Florida. Fucking dude, you're from. I'm like, no. And then Ronnie's like, will you announce us? And I was like, oh. Ronnie asks, you fucking say yes, right?
Nasty Ronnie.
Yeah.
It's funny too. The last two episodes, Ed has had some kind of he played with Hexella, and then didn't realize till we signed on tonight. And then the week before that, we had Morgul on.
And we played that show.
He shared a van with Morgul back in Chicago.
Dude, what's going on?
Yeah.
And the sad part is like it took me, because of the whole missing singer thing, and then the whole, I thought it was another, the other band. I was just like, dude, this is, wow, what a small world. I mean, because we were thrown on that show, like literally, like 10 days before, because Sinister got. I guess they couldn't get in the country or something. I don't know, but we were like, oh shit, so you start scrambling that's hard, man. When we got guys that are in the same states. How do you get ready for a show in 10 days?
Chaos.
Dude, it's fucking chaos. We pulled it off though. We always do, man. I don't know how we do it, but
it's always chaos.
Just because we're old fuckers.
Yeah, you're not that old yet. Not that, but think about it. If we, getting there, yeah.
I mean, it's weird. Remember, we were saying, I'm not going to be 60 fucking doing head whips. Well, maybe I will be. Exactly. You don't know, man. You don't know.
Hanging out with you and Count Go Duvall, I'm noticing my friends' ages are really up there.
That's a good dude, though, man.
I love the Count, man. That was
love to do that.
That was great. And Ed, so anybody who listens to us, you can find, I'm going to do the spiel, which I should have done at the beginning of the show, but I forgot. Anybody who hasn't checked us out, you can find us on Spotify, anywhere there's basically podcasts. You can catch episodes with Dawn of the Dead from Nonslaughter, Vincent Crowley from Acheron, the guys from, John Gallagher from Raven, Dave Austin from Nasty Savage. We had Morgul on from Finland. We had Jarno from Urn. Which one is it, Ed?
Lee
Payne from Clove and Hoof. We had Snowy Shaw, obviously King Diamond, Notre Dame, Merciful Fate. We had on the show David Howard Thornton, who played Art the Clown in the movies Terrifier 1, 2, and 3. What else do we have?
Count Duvall.
Count Gore Duvall, the Creature Feature host, Hall of Fame Creature Feature host. We had him. We had the guys from Morbid Saint. We've had Heimland from Norway, Jeff
Crowley.
Manus from Venom, Vincent Crowley, King Fally from Deceased.
96 episodes after today.
Episodes, yeah.
They're all in order. Go back. You will see every single one of them.
Chris Reifert from Autopsy. We can't forget that one.
Skip the first like 5.
Yeah, the first 5 it's a train wreck, but we we're still learning as we go. But episode 96.
Dude, I'll tell you, this is just a for example. How do you feel, Tony?
Oh my God.
That's what we were doing, is putting the phones up to the radio.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. Dude, we were so fucking lame. But you know what? We figured it out. And it worked out perfect. Look at us now. Look at us. We actually think we know what we're doing.
Yeah, it's like I said, we started in 2023 and we're rolling in 2025, halfway through it.
August.
So August will be our third season. So, and we'll be back next week with Sabathan, obviously, from Enthroned. We said Slaughter Messiah, Morbid Death. We want to thank Noelia Garza coming on from Hexella tonight. We appreciate that. And Ed,
make sure there's a rest stop if you're listening on the road, because you're going to need it after this next episode, I can tell you.
Yeah, I think the next episode is going to be killer.
I'm going to get it with a company and invent podcast piss buckets, so we never have to.
That's a story we could talk about one night. Yeah, when it goes 3 hours long, 4 hours long, sometimes you're looking for a retreat. But it's going to be. I'm looking forward to that episode next week. But everybody else, we appreciate you for listening. Ed, do you have anything else you want to say?
I am good, brother. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so it's everybody happy midsummer. And if the world doesn't blow up, we'll be back next week. You never know. So, everybody have a good one, and we'll see you next week, hopefully, on the Tampa Morgue. Peace.
See ya.
This is King Fally from Deceased, and you just listened to another episode of the Tampa Morgue. Tune in next week and stay fucking dead.